Hello, everyone. I said hello, and the dog goes, huh? And he's going to chew on his toy. Give it a minute.
We'll go out in the living room.
Oh my. Forgot your phone.
I've been doing stuff.
Let's give it a couple minutes. Play some sound over here, maybe. Hello, Lily. Hope you can hear me okay. See me okay. So far, you're the only one here. Thank you. Oh, what a day. Anyway, so today is Saturday. I'm gonna try it for a few Saturdays and see how it goes. Not very many people go live on Saturday after evening, afternoon, wherever you may be. Got the dog in the background over there chewing his toy. I got my books. I know I started a couple minutes early. So. I'd like to ask for prayers for California, my neighboring state here in the Great Northwest. Wildfires, we had them here in Oregon, close to my hometown, and so I know what it's like to have things go up in smoke, and it's definitely not fun, and it's very traumatizing. So lots of prayers for them there in California and everywhere that is having natural disasters right now. It's just crazy time. So anyway, my name's Sandra and I'm an alcoholic. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. May direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Sorry, guys. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I'm having a problem with my ear and my throat. So I always put in the description what book we're reading, the story we're reading, and the page. So today we are in the big book, the big blue book, I call it anyways. And we are in Because I'm an Alcoholic, page 338. This drinker finally found the answer to her nagging question, why? A lot of us have done that. I suppose I always wondered who I was. As a child, isolated in the country, I made up stories, inventing myself along with imaginary companions to play with. Later, when we moved to a large city and I was surrounded by kids, I felt separate, like an outcast. And although I learned to go along with the culture norm as I grew up, still underneath, I felt different. Alcohol helped. At least I thought it helped until I saw the oppressive 30-year shadow in the cast on my life. I discovered it in college. And although at first I didn't drink often, didn't have the opportunity, whenever I started, I drank as long as there was any alcohol around. It was a reflex. I don't remember liking the taste, but I liked that it seemed to bring me to life and get me through a date or a party. Able to talk, it moved me outside of the hole I felt in myself and lowered the wall I created between me and any person or situation that made me uncomfortable. For 10 years, though, through college and graduate school, interspersed with jobs, I drank periodically, so it was easy enough to think that I was a social drinker. Looking back, I see that alcohol helped me construct an image of myself as a sophisticated metropolitan woman, diminishing my feelings of being a backward country girl. I studied vintage wines and selected them with care to accompany the gourmet dishes I learned to make. I read about the correct drinks for various occasions. I learned to put just the tiniest whiff of dry vermouth into my martinis. Meanwhile, my tolerance for alcohol grew, so that while at first I got sick or passed out, as time went on, I could hold larger quantities without any visible effects until the next morning's hangover. Behind the facade My real life seemed just out of reach. I wanted to consider myself grown up, but inside I felt small and helpless. Hardly there at all. I would look at my friends, delightful, interesting, good people, and try to define myself through them. If they saw something in me that made them want to be with me, I must have something to offer. But their love for me was not a substitute for loving myself. It didn't fill the emptiness. So I continued spinning fantasies, and now alcohol fueled my dreams. I would make great discoveries, win the Nobel Prize in medicine and in literature as well. Always the dream was somewhere else, further off, and I took a series of geographical tours in search of myself. I was offered a job in Paris and jumped at the chance. I packed my trunk, left my apartment to my boyfriend, and sailed off, thinking that at last I would find my real home, my real self. I began to drink daily and rationalized that in France, of course, you have to have wine with meals. And after the wine, then there were liquors. My journals and letters bear witness in the deterioration of my handwriting as the evening wore on, drinking as I wrote. It was there, too, that I first became dependent on alcohol. After work, on the way to the Alliance franchise for classes, I'd stop at the Bristow for a glass of cognac to give me courage to get me there. My need greater than the embarrassment of being a woman drinking alone in the 1950s. One vacation I went to visit friends in Scotland, traveling slowly through the English and Welsh countryside. The bottles of cognac and Benedictine I brought as gifts for them. I drank in little hotel rooms miles before I got there. As long as it lasted, I could stay out of the pubs. Europe hadn't proved to be the change that would repair my life, and I started west again. It was in Cambridge that I pronounced my first resolution about cutting down. New Year's resolution I recycled for a dozen years while my drinking and my life kept getting worse. Alcohol had enslaved me. I was in bondage to it. Although I kept assuring myself that drinking was a pleasure and a choice. Blackouts began. Vacant places in my life when hours would disappear, lost to memory. The first time was after I'd given a dinner party. The next morning, I woke up without remembering that I told my guests good night and gone to bed myself. I searched the apartment for clues. The table was cluttered with dessert dishes and coffee cups. Bottles were empty and the glasses too. It was my custom to polish off any drinks that were left. My last memory was sometime during dinner. Did we even finish? But there were the plates. I was terrified that I'd done something horrendous until my friends called to me call, called to tell me they'd enjoyed the evening. One time we sailed from Guadeloupe to a little island for a picnic, swam to shore from the ship. After lunch and quantities of wine, I was with a French ski instructor talking to a loop of small boys on their way home from school, trying to explain to those tropical islanders what snow is like. I remember them giggling. The next thing I knew, I was back at the camp, walking to the dining room. Apparently, after swimming back to the ship, sailing to the port, then taking a rickety bus across the island, I had no memory of what I had done during those hours between. The blackouts increased, and my terror increased with them. Telephone bills would inform me that I'd made late night calls to distant places. I could tell from the numbers whom I'd called, but what had I said? Some mornings I woke up with a stranger who had brought me home from a party the night before. These things weighed heavily on me, but I couldn't stop the drinking that had caused them. That too gnawed away any remnants of self-respect I might have had. I was incapable of controlling my drinking and my life. I needed a drink to go any place, to the theater, a party, a date, and later to work. I would leave my apartment, lock the door, and start down the stairs, and then turn around and go Alrighty, here we go. Sorry about that. I'm back. Technical difficulties these days. And they say that Wi-Fi is 5G. Not really. Anyways, let me see, where was I? Okay. That too gnawed away any remnants of self-respect I might have had. I was incapable of controlling my drinking and my life. I needed a drink to go any place, to a theater, a party, a date, and later to work. I would leave my apartment, lock the door, and start down the stairs, and then turn around, go back in for another drink to get me where I planned to go. I needed a drink to do anything, to write, to cook, to clean the house, to paint the walls, to take a bath. When I passed out and fell into bed early, I woke up at 4 or 5 and had Irish coffee to start the day. I discovered that beer was better than orange juice to ease my hangover. Afraid my colleagues or students would smell my breath at work. I was careful to keep my distance. When I got up late and rushed off to the lab, fortified only with coffee, my hands shook so badly it was impossible to weigh out the milligrams of compounds needed for an experiment. When I went out to lunch with another alcoholic, we might never get to work that day. Somehow I still managed to keep my job, and most of my friends, social drinkers, who were urging me to cut down on the alcohol. That console only made me mad, and I was concerned myself. I asked the therapist I was seeing, sometimes with beer in hand, would I have to stop? His answer was that we had to find out why I drank. I'd already tried, but was never able to find out why until I learned the answer in AA. Because I'm an alcoholic. Hello, Rita. With my attempts to cut down, I stopped keeping alcohol around the house, drank up whatever was there, over and over, deciding not to get more. Then on my way home after work or an evening out, I'd have to see if I could scrape together enough money for a bottle. There were liquor stores just about every block, and I rotated them so the salesman wouldn't know how much I drank. On Sundays, when the liquor stores were closed, I had to make do with beer or hard cider from the grocery store. The horrors grew. Inner horrors. On the surface, it looked as though I was more or less keeping it together, but day by day I was dying inside. Filled with fears I couldn't name, but which shook me to the core. My worst fear was that I was an alcoholic. I wasn't sure what that was, except that I might end up down on the brewery or Bowery in New York, where I had seen drunks curled up on the sidewalks. I made another New Year's resolution to stop drinking entirely until I could handle it, and then I told myself I could go back to wine and beer. Hands trembling, body shaky, head splitting, I survived that first day until I was fairly safe in bed in an alcohol-free apartment. Somehow I made it through a couple more days, miserable in withdrawal, in spite of managing to stay dry that time. I have no doubt that resolution would have crumbled like the others, and I would have been drinking again if I had not found AA. I had left the therapist who hadn't been able to tell me why I drank. And on New Year's Eve, I went to a party at the home of my new therapist. A few days later in the group, the therapist said, "You're drinking even more than I realized. You're an alcoholic. I think you should stop drinking. See a doctor and go to AA." My resolution had endured 3 days, and I protested. "I'm not an alcoholic." That was my very last denial. "Say it the other way," he suggested. "I am an alcoholic." It came out in a whisper, but it sounded right. I've said it thousands of times since then, and with gratitude. What I was most afraid to admit that evening was what would set me free. The therapist told me then and there to call someone who had been in our therapy group, a doctor on the staff of a hospital alcoholism service. I'll call her tomorrow, I said. "Call her now." He handed me the telephone. When I asked her if I was an alcoholic, she said that from what she'd seen of my drinking, I might be, and suggested that I talk with her boss. I made an appointment and kept it. She told me the symptoms of alcoholism, and I had them all. She gave me a list of AA meetings and recommended one. I went to that meeting, a small women's group. I was scared and in withdrawal. Someone greeted me and I muttered my name aloud. Someone brought me a cup of coffee. People gave me their phone numbers and urged me to call, to pick up the telephone instead of a drink. They were warm and friendly. They said, "Keep coming back." And I did. 4 weeks, I sat in the back of the room, silent, when others shared their experience, strength, and hope. I listened to their stories and found so many areas where we overlap. Not all of the deeds, but the feelings of remorse and hopelessness. I learned that alcoholism isn't a sin. It's a disease that lifted the guilt and I felt help I had felt. I learned that I didn't have to stop drinking forever. But just not pick up the first drink. One day, 1 hour at a time. I could manage that. There was laughter in those rooms and sometimes tears, but always love. And when I was able to let it in, the love helped me heal. I read everything I could about the disease I had. My feelings recounted the course I have lived and predicted the way I would die if I continued drinking. I had access to a good medical library, but after a while I realized the genetics and chemistry of the disease were of no use to me as an alcoholic. All that I needed to know about it, what would help me get sober, help me recover, I could learn in AA. I was blessed to live in a city where there were meetings at all hours of the day and night. There I would be safe, and there, within a few blocks of my apartment, at last I would find the self I had traveled thousands of miles in search of. The slogans on the walls, which at first made me shudder, began to impress me as truths I could live by, one day at a time. Easy does it. Keep it simple. Live and let live. Let go and let God. The Serenity Prayer. Commitment and service were part of recovery. I was told that to keep it, we have to give it away. At first, I made the coffee and later volunteered at the intergroup office answering telephones on evening shifts. I went to 12-step calls, spoke at meetings, served as group officer. Ever so gradually, I began to open, just a crack at first, with my hand on the door, ready to slam it shut in a moment of fear. But my fear subsided too. I found that I could be there, open to all kinds of people, from this solid base that was shared. Then I began to go back out into the world, carrying that strength with me. I found that now I could do many things without a drink. Right? Answer the telephone, eat out, go to parties, make love, get through the day and the evenings, sleep at night, and get up the next morning ready to begin another day. I was amazed and proud to have gone a week without a drink, then a month. Then I lived an entire year sober. Through my birthday, Christmas, problems, success, the mixture that makes up life. I healed physically, felt good, and my senses returned. I began to hear the delicate sound of autumn leaves rattling in the wind, to feel the touch of snowflakes on my face, to see the first new leaves of spring. Then I began to heal emotionally. to experience feelings that had long been so deeply buried they had amplified, tropified, or whatever that word is. For a time, I floated on the pink cloud. Then I cried for a year, raged for another year. My feelings returned and they began to settle down to reasonable size. Above all, I healed spiritually. The steps took me on that path. I admitted I had admitted I was powerless over alcohol, that my life had become unmanageable. That was what got me through the door. Then I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And eventually I made a decision to turn my will and my life over the care of God as I understood God. Years before, in my search, I had explored numerous religions and dropped them because they preached a particular God, which I felt never included, but I felt never included me. Alcoholics Anonymous, I was told, is a spiritual program, not a religious one. I was told is a, sorry, through my years of darkness, some spark of spirit remained in me, helped me survive until I found my way into AA. Then, nurtured by the program, the inner spirit grew, depended, until it filled the emptiness I had so long felt inside. Step by step, I moved to a spiritual awakening. Step by step, I cleared up the past and got on with the present. AA is my home now, and it is everywhere. I go to meetings when I travel here or in foreign countries, and the people are from family. I know because of what we share. As I write this, in my 28th year of sobriety, I am amazed to look back and remember the women and child I was in, to see how far I've come out of the abyss. Alcoholics Anonymous has enabled me to move my fantasies about what I might do with my life into living it, one day at a time. In my first move, that was not a geographic. I left the city and moved to the country. I left research and became a gardener. I discovered that I am a lesbian and that I love women. I'm fulfilling a long-time dream of writing fiction that's being published. But these are things I do, aspects of the life I'm living in sobriety. The most precious discovery is who I really am. Like all of us, a being far beyond any of the ego selves, any of the fantasies I'd made up. That sense of being different, which had long plagued me, disappeared when I saw the threads that run through all of us, sharing our stories, our feelings. It is the areas where we are the same that impress me. The differences are but delightful flourishes on the surface, like different color costumes, and I enjoy them. But the basic way we are human, the basic ways we simply are, stand out to be me now. I came to see that we all are really one, and I no longer feel alone. So, the first thing I highlighted in this one was the second paragraph. Alcohol helped. At least I thought it helped, until I saw the oppressive 30-year shadow it casts on my life. I discovered it in college. Regardless of the college and all of that, I didn't do any of those things. But I am a recovering alcoholic, and all of these things do relate to me in ways more than not. Not everybody's stories are the same. Exactly what it said in the last paragraph. I was a social drinker for a while. I did go to bars, I drank with friends, and I thought, okay, I could just go out and drink with them every so often. But then when I got into my 30s, that's when I was starting to get into drinking more and more and more and more, and it was not good. But the ending of this, you can tell when you get the aha, you can get the aha over and over and over again of, oh, that's why this is it, all those things can come back to you. And that's why I get emotional reading the After Effect, is because I haven't forgotten the past me. I'm working on me now, every day, 1 hour, 1 minute, because sometimes that's all we can do. Because, yeah, we get into our own head. And it can be crazy, really crazy. That doesn't mean that we need to run back to it, because that's where we started. If we go back to that, we're just going to go back to the old ways, and it's not going to be better the second time or the third time or the fourth time. How many times do you think that you're going to make it and go far places being an alcoholic? Because you can quit drinking, yes. You can quit for a long time on your own, yes. But a lot of things don't change. My experience with going through AA has been the best thing of my sobriety journey, my daily life, my world. That's why I'm vocal about it. That's why I share it. That's why I'm here saying, yes, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I don't care who knows. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I tell strangers, okay? I am a recovering alcoholic. I don't know everybody here or who watches the replays. I am. And you could be too. But the first step is you have to admit that you are powerless over alcohol. Not that alcohol is going to listen to you. You have to listen to you and admit to yourself that you have that problem, not to anybody else. And that's why I always stress that you need to admit to yourself, I am an alcoholic. You have to be willing to make the changes for yourself. You are the alcoholic. You can't expect something to just happen. When you're, I know I say it over and over and over and over again. I have been there. I quit for a year, and I thought that too. I thought, oh yeah, I can go ahead and go have a drink. It's been a year. It's not gonna, have that effect on me. No, buddy. Oh yeah, it did. Right back down there. And it didn't take me that long. This time it was fast. It didn't take me 30 years. It took me one drink, one sip. Just buying it was enough for me to say, okay, yep, here we go. And that's what it was. And until you're willing to walk into a room or talk to your doctor, I talked to my doctor about it. I'm like, I'm I'm an alcoholic and I need help. My first doctor, she retired, and so I didn't have her to go to. And so for a while I did go and right back on that binger for a while. And finally I was just like, I really need to stop this. I need to stop this chaos. I moved away from my hometown, my friends that I thought I had, my family, anybody that I knew other than a couple friends that lived there. And we moved, and that was that. And I drank for a little bit being there. And then I was like, I gotta quit. I really gotta quit. And so I quit, and then I came back home in this area after I had a little bit under my belt to say, okay, I'm sober. And then a blessing happened. A friend of mine from when I was growing up reached out and said, I'm an alcoholic, and I know where there's a meeting. I said, I'm an alcoholic too, and I'm willing to go to that meeting. And that's where it started, and that's where I've been to my AA. Got a sponsor, I worked my steps, 10 years sober, proud to be sober. I don't want to ever go back to who I was, and I have to never forget that that's where I was. That's where I came from. And that's who I don't want to be. I work my steps on a daily thing. I don't read my books every day. I don't do a meeting every day. I don't talk to people every day for AA, about AA, but I have my steps that when I'm feeling like I need to go to a meeting, I will go to a meeting. I will figure out how to go to a meeting. If I want to do a meeting, here I am, I'm doing meetings. This was my goal. This is where I'm sharing my story for free to help others because it's a gift I was given. And I gladly accept it. I gladly accept helping others to become sober, to know that they can make it sober. You have to want it for the real reason, and the real reason is you. You can't fix anything until you fix yourself. And it's hard to hear sometimes, but it's the truth. Until you're willing to admit that first step. Every day is worth your sobriety. I've seen so many wonderful things being sober. I've been to quite a few places that I never thought I would ever go being sober. I've seen it with clear eyes. And guess what? That was in one of the places that a lot of alcoholics could be very happy, but not me. I made it through that trip of not drinking. I made it through that whole 4 days in the casinos. Not one single alcoholic beverage. Not even a sip. and they were sitting everywhere. That surprised me a lot. So I used to not be able to do that. And yes, I can vouch for the pink cloud because I was coasting up there, and it hit me. I really got to do these things. And I was stubborn about it. I was really stubborn. I know my sponsors over there going, yeah, really, really stubborn. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining me for AA on a Saturday evening. I hope you guys are having a great day so far and have a wonderful night. And thank you for being here, Van Girl. I appreciate everybody that comes in and listens. And even if you can't, if you don't feel up to commenting in the comments, I understand it's not easy for everybody, especially the newcomers. And just hit the like button if you want, and subscribe to the channel. I do the meetings twice a week, and I do upload short videos of the dogs. One of them is my sister's dog, and the other one is mine. Copper is mine. But anyways, I'm glad you guys are here and sober. And I'm going to read the Serenity Prayer, close myself off of my own YouTube. I'm going to read the Daily Reflection. January 25th. What we need each other. AA is really saying to every serious drinker, you are an AA member if you say so. Nobody can keep you out. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 139. That's the little blue book. For years, whenever I reflected on Tradition 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. I thought it valuable only to newcomers. It was their guarantee that no one could bar them from AA. Today, I feel enduring gratitude for the spiritual development the tradition has brought me. I don't seek out people obviously different from myself. Tradition 3, concentrating on the one way I am similar to others, brought me to know and help every kind of alcoholic, just as they have helped me. Charlotte, the atheist, showed me higher standards of ethics and honor. Clay, of another race, taught me patience. Winslow, who is gay, led me by example into true compassion. Young Megan says that seeing me at meetings sober 30 years keeps her coming back. Tradition 3 ensured that we would get what we need, each other. And that is the truth, and that is exactly pretty much what we just read. I don't know how that happens, but it does. Anyways, I love you guys, and I hope you yes, Brandy, it did. For a few minutes. Anyways, I love you guys. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe out there. I'll find my mouth. There it is. Love you guys. You can have to wait a minute. I'm still live.